Okay guys, time for another game theory video. I'm actually going to do a video about something I've talked about before. Why EX moves suck, generally speaking, for fighting games, or a common idea of what EX moves are. And this is actually going along anyway with because I recently have been doing videos about like how games progress, finding the chaos or the balance in the chaos, you know what I mean? And even Dragon Ball FighterZ is trying to make EX moves used by making them only cost a quarter or half of a bar, right? Because EX moves are such a conundrum in video games. So again, if you watched my video about this before, you might know some of the stuff I'm going to talk about. But why are EX moves like so generally shitty for games, right? So, well, I mean, what are the EX moves generally doing anyway? I mean, look at where EX moves are in video games nowadays. We have EX moves where their function is to basically make the move perform how it originally worked. Look at like say DPs in a game like Street Fighter V. Now if you do the EX DP in Street Fighter V, your DP is invincible again. Well, what if I told you, the DP is just regularly supposed to be invincible, right? That's redundancy, right? And there's a lot of redundancy when you just have EX moves that are just souped up versions of special moves, right? A lot of times you're just taking away from a move, right? Just to give it like another excuse to do this, right? So let's look at some examples of, and I should say, I think EX moves are generally more well done in a game like Guilty Gear, right? Where the EX move is actually something, generally speaking, special. It's not just a souped up version of a special move, right? I mean, so again, let's look at like, the idea, common idea of a lot of EX moves now is just something like it hits more times. Maybe it has an extra property that often was its original property anyway. When I was talking about like the DP, DPs were originally invincible, dude. They still should be, but no, now only the EX DP, right? Then we also run into the problem of like a lot of EX moves are just like, again, it's my souped up version of a move that just hits more times or it juggles, right? Isn't that, you know what I mean? Isn't that what a lot of them are just doing? Is that really that interesting? I mean, think about it, right? Like, and King of Fighters was really bad about this too. I feel like everyone's just like, oh, hey, here's my EX move. My EX move is just the same exact move, but now it juggles and we juggle after it, right? Like, I mean, after a certain point, again, isn't it kind of getting redundant if you're just giving everyone the same thing? Like, oh, hey, my move just, it does this, it juggles, blah, blah, blah. That's not real progress, right? That's like this Ouroboros thing I'm talking about. They're like, oh, hey, we're giving you something new. Like, yeah, you can juggle, but the other character is doing the same thing with their special move, right? And I know people used examples of like, say, Kyo, he has like his run-up explosion move, right? Well, his EX version of the move was it was a grab. But that's like the random outlier of like an interesting EX moves. Most EX moves don't actually function like that. Most EX moves are dreadfully fucking boring, right? It's just an excuse for someone, a Timmy or a Jimmy, to put up their combo video like, oh, my EX move juggled. That's not real progression in a video game, right? You know what I mean? Street Fighter also has the problem of, a lot of these more common sort of like, can the camera work? Is the camera going to go back on? A lot of more common like fundamental Street Fighter 2 games or 2D games we're talking about, like one of the problems with EX moves is obviously the problem of like the EX Fireball. Because of the way that 2D games work like that, the EX Fireball is so fundamental to the game, you can't just give one character an EX Fireball I talked about and no one else, because it's too fundamentally important to a way that a game like this is played, right? And it also, and then when you get into the idea that if we're going to give everyone an EX Fireball, it starts to make, say, Ryu, a character that's more focused on fireballs and everything like this, and he has the super fireball. This makes his super fireball less special because you have all these characters now that can win the fireball war, whereas Ryu used to be special that he could win a fireball war, right? So again, another idea that the EX move is making characters less unique, right? So let's take an idea of, let's just use, say, Ryu and Ken, right? Talk about EX moves with them. I'm going to give some examples, right? So we have like, what is this? Like, again, we said the DP, their EX DP, it's multiple hits and it's invincible. That's fucking redundant. Is that like well thought out? Is that interesting? No, take it away, right? We take, say, again, Ryu. He used to have a red fireball, right? But then we added EX moves, and then his EX move was the red fireball. And you're like, okay, so I guess the EX fireball, lets him win a fireball worth only half meter. But then because the EX fireball wars are so potentially fundamentally important to the way that Street Fighter is played, we got to make sure we give everyone an EX fireball, right? And if we're going on the deeper level too again, okay, so we took away Ryu's red fireball, right? Ryu's red fireball special move was just a fireball that knocked you down, right? So they're like, well, okay, we took away the red fireball. What can we give Ryu to kind of, make up for this quotation marks? Let's give him a thrust kick that is basically, it's a special move that knocks you down. It's kind of, in a way, functioning what the red fireball, from that specific distance, in a sense, it's kind of functioning in a somewhat similar way. It is somewhat, I should say, maybe it has somewhat similar uses to what we would have used the red fireball for in a combo, right? But isn't that the threat? Like we don't need that. You don't even need the thrust kick, right? Like it's just that's fake progression. So let's say, how would we actually make this interesting? And this is why I think that Guilty Gear did EX moves better, and they should have just did something like this in Street Fighter, right? Take away EX Fireball, take away EX DP. They're fucking redundant, dude. Have DPs function how they're supposed to function, okay? Have fireballs. You need to respect the idea, respect the fundamental core values of Street Fighter with the fireball wars and everything like that. Not everyone should be able to win a fireball war, right? Not every character should be that versatile. Some characters are supposed to have certain things that are special about them. So again, get rid of the EX fireball. You don't want that. Get rid of the EX DP. So how do we make EX moves special, right? Not just EX moves like, oh, hey, here's my EX move that juggles. Oh, my EX move juggles. Oh, I can combo this, blah, 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 blah. Oh, but you can do the same thing with your... How do you make it fucking special, dude? Actually progressive. So how do you progress Ryu? You know what you just do? Keep his red fireball. Keep all this other shit he's doing. And you want to know what? You wanted to add the thrust kick? Just make the thrust kick his EX move, dude. It's over. Like, what? That would have been so simple. So he still has a quotation marks new move. He does Johnny Cage's shadow kick. Yeah, whatever. Shoots across the screen. Shadows blazing, right? He kicks the dude. They bounce off the wall. And you can combo, right? You don't need a regular thrust kick. You don't need any of this. Just his, like, again, if you're thinking about the game, like Guilty Gear, Guilty Gear does have some kind of Mugen-ish, just powered up, souped up moves, right? But but not every move was the EX move, and they had original EX moves. So there you go. Street Fighter would keep Ryu's red fireball. His other moves are still functional. They did, and like, what do you add to him? You know what? He doesn't have all these EX moves that are just bullshit mind move that juggles. It's just a thrust kick. You added a little bit of spice to Ryu. He does Johnny Cage's shadow kick, does a little thrust kick. He gets a little bit more damage if he has a little bit more meter. You're not disrupting the balance of Street Fighter by, if he has an EX move for that much, you gotta give everyone an EX move. Isn't that like such a fucking simple fix? And he like feels still new. It's still a new move. Not everyone's going to be on the same special move that juggles all over the fucking place, right? And I don't totally hate the EX Hurricane kick, right? Like, if we don't want to have a super Hurricane kick, you know what I mean? Like, okay, maybe hit another EX move that it was a super Hurricane kick, right? Because I kind of like how that functions. At least it's a little bit different, right? But let's go to a character like Ken again, right? We don't want Ken to have an EX Fireball, right? Keep the characters special with what they can do, right? We don't want him to have an EX DP because keep the fucking DP a DP. Move should function. I shouldn't need to use meter to use the move how it's supposed to originally function. That is so fucking stupid. Oh, but this one juggles more. No, just stop. Not every character should be doing crazy combos. That's not how fucking games work. Not every character needs to be versatile that every Jimmy throws the Hail Mary pass. Some characters are supposed to be unique, right? So there you go. He doesn't need EX Hurricane Kick. Get rid of it. Get fucking rid. No EX Hurricane Kick. No EX Fireball. No EX DP, whatever. Like, get rid of that all. So you're like, what the fuck do you add to him, Clayton? Well, think about this. Think about something like this. We have, say, just his supers in the game. If we have the idea of what Ken is in Street Fighter, right? We have, say, the Shoryuken super and the Shippuden Ryokai with the... Man, my Japanese failed me right there. Hurricane Kick super, the Kick super, right? Think about it on a sort of basic level, right? They're both just supers that are moving you forward, right? Now, you could try to fiddle around with it and say, like, oh, okay, well, the Dragon Punch super is his invincible rushing super, and you would want to use the hurricane kick super as his combo super because it does more damage. Maybe you could fill it with like that. Maybe you could do that. But what if you just made that little hurricane kick, the kick super, his EX move, right? And I'm gonna tell you a cool, interesting way that you could add this into the game that makes it unique, makes it feel special, right? So kind of have in your mind Super Turbo Ken, right? Like Ken has all those funky kicks and everything like that, right? Now, now a lot of those moves when they hit, they don't like, okay, so if you're using the kicks, I guess he has the roundhouse kick that knocks down, right? But it wouldn't do as much damage as if you were to do, combo to a DP or something like that. Well, although he does have some dizzy combos with it and everything like that, and there are a few specific links you can do with it versus like some like bigger characters, like scythe kick, duck short, another kick, whatever. But what if whenever you did one of those funky kicks, since the funky kicks are already basically what the hurricane kick super or the kick super already looks like, what if you inputted another motion, right? Another fireball with two kicks, and then he just went into the kick super, right? A little baby version of it. Doesn't do as much damage as a super, just a little baby version of it. That's his EX move, right? And just how he has like the overhead of it. So maybe, you're in a string, you whatever, and the guy gets hit by the overhead version of the funky kick, right? Well, you don't want to just do a sweep because you're not getting that much damage off it. If you have a little bit extra meter, instead of just doing the sweep, you input the motion again, fireball with two kicks, and then he does the rest of the funky kicks into a little baby hurricane kick. You're still keeping the lore of that move. You're keeping him original with what is his EX move while not making anything feel redundant. You've kept the kick super, right? You're keeping it so the kick super and the DP super, if they're both in the game, are not redundant, right? You still have a reason that you use the DP super, right? Again, I said you could fix the super in both ways if you want. One is the invincible one is the combo one, whatever the fuck you want to do if you wanted to make it like that. But what if you just made it? That's how you added an EX move to Ken. Do you get what I'm saying? So when he actually hit a funky kick, and when you hit the funky kick overhead, he has the option, if he has more meter, to actually get more damage, dude, right? That's his version of a bigger combo, right? Just like Ryu's version of a bigger combo is if you have a little bit more meter, instead of comboing into a red fireball to knock down, you can also combo into your knockdown move, use the thrust kick, whatever, you know what I mean? That hits the guy, then you hit the guy. It's still fun because he's getting a bigger combo, which is a lot of all these things these EX moves just function as, just a souped up version, right? But it doesn't feel redundant. It still feels new, right? Do you get what I'm saying? You can add shit like that to other characters too, right? Not every character. That's why EX moves suck, because they're inevitably going to feel redundant at points. You have the problem of, because of the way the game is played, fireballs are just so important. So you want everyone to have those EX moves in the first place. So you got to make sure, because you got to go all the way in or not at all, right? Because if you start to go all the way in, you got to make sure everyone has EX fireball to bat. So just don't start that bullshit. Just give everyone like a unique EX move. Make it more like Guilty Gear, right? EX moves are only unique, right? Do you get what I'm saying? That's why EX moves exist, because when they're just souped up version of shit, that's not real progression. Some people are like, oh yeah, but your EX move, you gotta think about how much meter you have. And then if you have X, you can combo the guy, hit this guy again, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, but you just said that's what everyone is doing with their EX move. That's what everyone is doing. That's not fucking real progression. The Ouroboros, the circle of life, dude. It's just come back. And you're just right back at the beginning. Not every character should be super versatile in every situation, right? Do you get what I'm saying? That's why EX moves suck. I mean, think about EX moves in Dragon Ball Fighter Z. They're just souped up. They don't even get used half the time because of the way the combo things work in Dragon Ball Fighter Z as well. Because it takes too much time off the clock, so they even worth it, even if they do more damage. That's why I just said that there's just so many ways when you add in EX moves, when EX moves are supposed to be with every single move, it sucks, right? Let's use a example too. Think about it this way. Let's imagine that, don't even be pessimistic like me about this. Let's imagine that in all games that have EX moves, imagine this. 75% of all EX moves are fucking magical. They're all amazing. Instead of now where it might be where there's EX moves where there's that one and there's that kill he grabs you with his EX thing. So it's a little bit different, right? Don't imagine that. Imagine a game where the EX moves are like 3 out of 4 EX moves of the character are not redundant. It's awesome. It's amazing, right? Only a quarter of the EX moves are redundant. But guess what? What if you only had one EX move and it had to be special? That would still be better. That wins. I don't care. I don't care if a character has 4 or 5 special moves and 4 out of their 5 special moves, their EX moves are awesome. But there's that one redundant one, and everyone's got that one fucking redundant special move, right? What if you just said, no, we're not going to go that way. We're just going to have every character has their 1 or their 2 EX moves that are completely new. Completely new. What a fucking novel concept, dude. That's why EX moves suck, dude, right? That's why EX moves suck in video games, and they're not real progression, right? And I just gave a couple of easy examples with Ryu because I thought it was easy. I could talk about a lot of stuff I would change in Street Fighter and video games, but you know, point is that that's why EX moves suck in video games.